Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024, and you are in the Java Cafe. I first want to say welcome to a lot of folks that are listening today on Instagram and also Twitter as well. Our mayor is going to come in a few minutes, and I'm not mad at the fact that she's running a couple of minutes behind because I think it's important that I sort of level set some things and some questions that I need to check in with the mayor about today. And so for those of you that don't know, for many years, I have moved in, advocated for, been victim of issues in reference to violence and trauma. Like many of you, we are aware that currently the numbers are low. However, I've been saying this for a while. The mayor has said this and others, that though the numbers are low, in areas where the numbers are still active, we're still highly impacted. And so with these years of moving in that space, then actually working directly for Mayor Menino, along with folks like Courtney Gray, had huge influence on how street memorials that are erected when our young people are killed, how they're handled, the sensitivity to the family. Public safety is always the first priority, but there was precedent set that we would reach out to the families around the memorial. And what that work also did, we know that during the times of anniversaries in some of the homicides in our community, activity may increase. And what we did for a while, we reached out to the family and said, hey, first anniversary, second anniversary is coming up. Would you like to do anything? And we would support them. What that did was it took a positive approach to the mourning, the trauma, and everything that victims' loved ones were dealing with, and proactively gave the community a space to continually grieve. Just a side note there. And so being from community, being a young person in my teens, I remember one August that I was at like a funeral at JB Johnson, like every weekend. There's that experience. There's the experience of being a youth worker, direct services to young people that brought a different lens to why some of our young people, and thank you to former Representative Carlos Enriquez that helped me with this. And I think Darren definitely was an influence here. Just a side note, Darren's going to be with us Friday at 12 o'clock. We'll talk more about that later. But I changed the way that we describe those that feel that they have no other choice but to shoot. There's a lot of language around senseless violence. If you are in it and you feel that your life is under threat, right, wrong, or indifferent, the decisions that are made that impact us as a community and loved ones, and the lack of regard for taking someone's life. But we stopped saying senseless violence and we started saying those that feel that they have no other choice but to shoot. And so that experience with young people working within the DYS system. Then I had some time to work in government directly for Mayor Menino. Worked for the second, the father to dad, the second Bush administration. And then also was an advisor in the state space with our governor around issues of public safety and young people. I was on the governor's anti-crime council. I say this from the directly being impacted, the experience of working with young people, along with working in government, I got some context. And I am certainly not an expert, but I'm certainly not a novice. All of that comes into play when you have longevity around advocating and you see and realize that it's the same perpetual systems and structures that perpetuate a lot of the violence. Administrations, people in positions, programming changes. However, if there is not intentionality in each iteration, aggressive, strong intentionality in each iteration of an administration, of people in positions, this is where the perpetuated violence, lack of infrastructure, lack of equity of services still happens. And so we are aware that a few weeks ago, there was what's considered, upon the fourth shooting, it's considered a mass shooting. That was at the Dominican Festival. Out of that, y'all know, because when I first heard about it, all I heard was youth shot, no other information. And if you know me, things like that trigger me. And for years, I've always said, when I'm triggered, I either attack or serve. I have found a medium for myself that I lean more towards service, but when I have to, that service maybe could be in attack mode. This isn't at any individual. This is at a system and structure and things that perpetuate the violence in our community. After that shooting, I was invited to a briefing. And in that briefing, I sat there flabbergasted and baffled because for a period, if you watch when the mayor comes on, we had a couple of months, we weren't asking about violence. We had a couple of months, we weren't asking about mass and cast. Things had seemed to be getting better. And I have to give fairness to administrations and people in positions in working. And unfortunately, the nature of the environment when it comes to violence prevention, there are, and I'm not making light, I'm just trying to make it plain, there are lower number periods, there are higher number periods. And that we have to be fair about that. But what has me in this space right now is I sat in that meeting and realized ever more than I've ever known before, it is systems and structures. We want and would like to believe that people between administrations and people in positions around this work are in it to have their position to be eliminated. Violence prevention programs should be in the business of going out of business. Violence intervention programs should be in the business to go out of business. So we would hope, and with each iteration of leadership, I'll speak for myself, I have identified that there is some synergy between the desire to make change. Say what y'all wanna, I'm in a space, I don't care. With this administration, with no disrespect to others, I feel that we can get some things done. And y'all always know that I say in an election year, next year is an election year. And I believe that during an election year, candidates are more malleable to doing what the community wants. Jimmy, where you're going. We have to, as a community, hold ourselves accountable. I have often said that we could put all of the most wonderful programming out there. And there is, unfortunately, One of my first supervisors in youth work said this to me, and I went back to my desk and cried. James, you're not going to be able to save everyone. I'm just with the mayor's time. I'm just double checking to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, we're good. So that mentor said that. Dudes from the street have said, yo, Jimmy, I get it, but some dudes just about that life. And so with that consideration, there is an accountability within our community to figure out how we support the aunties, the mothers and whatnot, that they know that their children have firearms in their homes. There is the responsibility that we talked about with Lacey yesterday at the federal level. If Ayanna Pressley is doing something, how do we put letters behind her, phone calls, and get that federal legislation around gun laws back? Then locally, and well, at the state and the county level too, we need to hold them accountable. One of the things I believe with the state, but it made through federal, is this thing that I've talked about and have not found myself talking about it in a couple of years, was SSYI. That meeting was very revealing. And so we have an accountability on ourselves in community. Tito Jackson said this at former city councilor, the late great former city councilor Chuck Turner's service. The cavalry is not coming. Now, with that said, our tax dollars, formulary grants, that you put the numbers of homicides and shootings, they do their calculation, and then it produces a number of support that may come from Department of Justice and Health and Human Services and the state and whatnot. So, where is the mayor? Because I'm going someplace I did not want to go. We have to, as a community, hold ourselves accountable. This is where I'm going. The other part of accountability is, as I said, our tax dollars and all that other stuff. That's where I was going. If people are in positions and they're getting grants and they're paid, and not just in government, if government and philanthropic, whatever the word is, those that give out money that's not government, if they are constantly giving money and supporting entities that are not impactful in the work in preventing, intervening, and responding in the worst case scenarios when people are taken out of here, I've been calling for an assessment of that years. Post that meeting, what really baffled me was I said to some folks that was in the meeting, bro, do you realize that I can go back to emails to elected officials and government officials from 2014, 15, 16, cut and paste, change names, update some numbers, maybe because within government, some programs, divisions, departments moved around, and just move a few things. I can send the same email. That's a problem. So again, it's systems and structures. I cannot reiterate enough. I'm not really adding outside of entities that have good grant writers and perpetuate that they're doing the work, but they're really not. So Jesus, Lord, okay. All right. Now, let me give some grace to the mayor. Not about this issue. Don't take that the wrong way. What I mean is, we're going to talk about this. First day of school with busing did not go well. The mayor today, my understanding is she went out and rode the bus with a family for her own experience. She's been doing it with the MBTA. I believe she did it today with BPS bus. And so she's running late. Traffic. So I just got a note that we're waiting on the mayor's time, and she will be with us shortly. Let me also give some context here around how I'm talking about accountability. I know that there's a level of accountability that I have to you as community. There's a level of accountability I have to my almost cussed, to my damn self, to be my authentic self. In that, I often joke in reference to the fact that when people find out the mayor is coming on, all my texts, my inbox, DMs, they all blow up. You should make sure. I wonder if you're gonna. And I get it. A logistical technical thing before I go into philosophy. We have a half an hour. Y'all know, with all due respect to the mayor, you ask the mayor a question, the way her brain works, you ask for a 30-second, 1 minute response. She's 3 minutes in because she got all the data and context. That's just how everybody that knows that's how her brain works. And so time becomes an issue. Prioritizing issues that I observed from social media and conversation. And also, I think it's important to give balance, to hold accountable, to ask about mass incarceration and violence and housing, but then also allow the mayor the opportunity to share that $7 million of ARPA money is going into housing and expansion of the space grants. I say all of that to say that and I've never said this before. Give a brother a little bit of grace. In the logistics, here's the philosophy. I take my cadence that directs the topics that I'm going to talk about with the mayor, again, based on conversations, based on my observation of social media, based on engagement I see here, issues, the news, and have to sit with the responsibility of figuring it all out with the balance of allowing her at least some opportunity to talk about the good. Y'all know I always talk about wanting to end on a good note. And so just some context there in reference to some convo we're going to have with the mayor today around violence. If the team is on, I hope y'all are ready to move the schedule back a little bit and I get it, traffic and whatnot. All right, I'm going to go into the comments. Okay. I'll kind of start. Well, I'll go back up to the top. Pull me in a little bit. Let me say good morning to some folks. Donna Janky, good morning. Good to see you in the room. Michelle D. Smith, Buenos dias, shalom. Good to see you in the room. Naraki, good morning to you. Mama Java, good morning to you. Sister Soraya, Michelle, that's not the music. That's the internet catching up with the audio file or with the whole thing. Sister Soraya, good morning to you. Who else is in the room? Sister Debbie, good morning to you. Isaiah, brother, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room. Vaughn, good morning. Sharon Cornelius, good morning. Ed, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room. I saw you over on Jesus Lord. Yes, Daniel, thank you. Ed is over on Instagram. He said when the system isn't systeming, it's time for change. The system is systeming, and that's that I get what you're saying, but the system is systeming, doing what it's supposed to do. Daniel saying on Instagram also, peace, bro, do you and live in your space. Absolutely, brother. Michelle says, my brother James Truth, serve and act to change systems and infrastructures that perpetuate violence in BIPOC communities. Ed, all in all, we're doing better, though. Shout out to Mayor Wu. The numbers are better, and she would agree with this. It's not just her. And I've mentioned this to the current folks in the position. You got to give credence to Conan, Dan, Leon. Who else has been in that post? Tracy. Dr. Rufus Falk. You got to give them credit because these numbers didn't just happen by osmosis in the last couple of years. Oh, no, there was work done. Going back, way back to some folks. And so always got to be balanced about that. So Ed, thank you. We always got to keep the balance. The numbers are low. However, we are still being traumatized in our communities. And so, and it is imperative that those that are charged with responding to community trauma respond to the community. Understanding direct service to families and whatnot, that's happening. My understanding also is that there's an element of that macro. Hey, did you hear a gunshot? Here's a card. Here's the information to call. These services are available to you. Asia, the reality is, folks, profit from pain in many industries. Michelle D. Smith, truth. Violence prevention programs should be in the business of going out of it. Peter Hardy from Roxbury Youth Works taught me that years ago. Ours is to go out of business. Will the poor be with us always? Will we have issues? Yes. But the goal is to not be around, that not be needed. Let's see. I'm not messing with you. All right, let me just double check. Make sure we're good. Uh-oh. The text is currently at this. Okay. I'm getting I thought I was. So we should have an update shortly. All right. Yo! This young man here. I know I got a couple of texts this morning. Good to see you in the room, City. Let me finish saying hi so I correlate this well. Michelle says the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, shout out to Tina, along with community and city state government partners. Let's get busy being about the business of improving quality of life for our communities. Absolutely. Ed, it's a shame how certain people with deep pockets prey on orgs and leaders who are short on funding. Not going to go there. City, good to see you in the room. You're always going to be Calvin to me. How you? Okay. Yo, that's messed up that you would put, your name says Calvin and you put City. You know what anyway. Bishop Shelton, good to see you in the room, brother. Asia. Solomon over on YouTube. Welcome to the Java Cafe. Rich, what's up? What's up, brother? You know why I'm doing it. I'll just say we share political differences. Just looking, there's no update as of yet, so hopefully the mayor will be with us shortly. And again, apologies to everybody that maybe have an 11 or something with the mayor. Hopefully we'll push it back. We may get limited time today, but please understand, as I said, with logistics, all of this stuff gets factored in. And so I'm keeping an eye on the phone. Listen, while we're waiting, I wanted to remind folks that this Thursday, and I suggest that you go register today. Let me bring this file up so I can share it with you all. Where is it? Where's our drink menu? All right, let me get you guys the drink menu. But this Thursday night at 6 p.m., we are going to be, here's the mayor. Let me change that subject real quick and I'll go back to that later so we can make the best use of our time. Michael, text me or inbox me and tell me drop dead time so I know exactly how to play in my time. Mayor, welcome. Good to see you. What?
Good morning. I'm so sorry. I am at the bowling building now. We took the bus to the Higginson Lewis to see how it went, and we were 6 minutes late, which we need to do better, but it was better than the 20 minutes late that the bus had been doing last week. But then we had a little media scrum, and now I got locked out of my computer, so I'm on my phone. So one thing after another, just like any BPS parent.
Mayor, thank you for coming in, coming in light, because first, let's talk about the buses. That first day of school did not go as well as you liked. And let's just, I think people know what the issue is. And so if I could ask you to speak to what it is, you went on your own experience today. You've been in touch with Mary Skipper and you all are doing some things. What is it that you're working on for resolution to decrease the late times and things like that?
Yeah, as the superintendent has been saying, it's really hard when you realize you're kind of stuck as a system being mediocre, basically, as she said, and to get to that next level, it's going to be some changes that are needed that will feel kind of rocky and tough at first. And so we had been stuck all last year at 90% of buses getting to school exactly on time. And it was something like 97, 98% getting there within 15 minutes of being on time. But by that point, class has already started for the other students. You're rushing, they're eating breakfast in the classroom instead of being able to relax and just get ready for the day. I know how much a difference it makes for my kids when they're sort of thrown into something immediately without having that proper transition time and being able to just kind of slow down and get ready for the next thing. So we need to get every kid to school, every student to school on time. So this year, they implemented a new app that would not only let parents be able to track exactly where your student is, and it's like if you're taking an Uber or Lyft ride, you can see the exact drop-off time and it updates it. And so it'll predict with traffic how long it's going to take. And you know when you have to get to the bus stop by to either drop off your student or pick them up at the end of the day. And that app has been working really well. On the other end, it's supposed to help. Over time, it will help us because it gives drivers for the first time real-time GPS navigation on the map system rather than just paper routes that have been in use for 30 years. So you know, there's some obviously getting used to how to use this technology, but it's going to make sure that students are safer all across the board. For the first time, drivers are checking off exactly which students get on and off the bus at each stop. So we know who's riding, who made it on, who didn't make it on. And we also have that accountability for, you know, is the bus always half full or is it actually being used all the way? And that will allow us to communicate with families directly as well.
Also, there's some economic pieces there when you talk about the bus being half full. Does it switch? I don't know. I haven't seen them in years, but remember the HB and the half buses? That could be an economic or budget implication there as well. And so we're walking away with busing and understanding there is a new app. There will be some time that people have to get used to it.
I will say that actually, in some ways, a bigger change that happened this year, which wasn't expected at all. You know, the app, we expected there would be some adjustment period, but for a bunch of reasons that we're actually digging more into, we had a wave of hundreds of new students registering in the few weeks right before school and or the first week of school. It was every day at the registration center, there'd be 100 more families registering. And, you know, there are basically three kind of groups that it sounds like these families are falling into. One is new immigrant families who either are literally just arriving or maybe weren't familiar with the usual registration periods, which are much, much earlier in the year. And obviously they know school's starting now, so better get to it and get registered. The second is families who had a change of address. And so we think the housing crisis probably has a lot to do with this one, of families getting priced out or needing to, you know, adjust where they're living and all of that. And then the third bucket is families who are actually choosing between other school options like charter schools or other types of schools, and then deciding at the end they were going to do BPS, which is a wonderful thing. We welcome everyone, but it was double the number of bus routes that had to be changed before between when they did their test runs, when the routes were planned out, and when the first day of school happened, because there were so many new families that were adding. So we're trying to figure out how we can do better with that next year too.
Mayor, thank you. I think it's important to always take these things into consideration. That's why I appreciate the opportunity to have sort of these, what did Bill Henning say? Formal, informal, or conversations, because you get a chance to give context and not what the legacy big media does. Two things to also to consider. Post-pandemic, bus drivers are a shortage nationally, and also you can never predict traffic. And so just wanted to name those two things. Mayor, I jumped right in on busing, as that was the reason you were running late, and talked about that. You referenced to being, you know, a mom and things. And so we always start outside of today. On the human side, it's Michelle Wu. Mimi is your mom, reference to. How are you doing? We know you're expecting. We know you got your own kids in school. There's a lot going on we're going to go into. How are you doing as Michelle Wu?
I'm good. I'm feeling a little bit of the crunch. It's always a relief when fall starts back up and we get to all the schedules. So, okay, we know the kids are back in school. They have to be in school at this point. And then it's like, okay, you got to remember to pack lunches and do all the things that also get to bed on time and other things that over the summer, maybe you can slide a little bit more. I'm also, last week I had my 21-week ultrasound. So we're over halfway there now. And things are, knock on wood, still looking and feeling healthy. Baby's starting to kick and make sure she's making herself known. So and I still feel good in terms of energy, although I'm definitely feeling a little heavier. So I'm trying to make sure I'm out and about, getting things settled. And, you know, it also just, you know that the scientists and the research shows that this period also changes your brain chemistry, right? You like become much more attuned to thinking about people, you know, relationships and people and this and that, which I think can be a very good thing, and also adds a lot of really personal connection to when there are things in our community that are happening that are tough, and that when we see families who are struggling, it, just that much more reminder of, okay, I'm bringing a new little one into the world. Like, we have to work as fast as we can to make this the best possible world for all of our kids.
Mayor, that right there, I want to ask, and I had shared that, and from your time in sitting in front of Larry's office as a city councilor, this area of violence prevention is something we've talked about, from your notebook at the Haley House back in the day to sitting and talking often during the campaign and things like that. There was a mother and little child shot this week. We haven't had a chance to talk since the Dominican. I don't think we have since the Dominican Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And as I did with the busing, we know what the issues are. I will state one thing that was alarming to me, Mayor. I attended a briefing, and it's causing me to realize that systems and structures are still that what we talked about years ago. There were a few months where I didn't ask you as much about violence. I didn't ask you as much about mass and cast. That shooting, the baby, and everybody, the shooting in the barbershop, numbers are down. But that briefing I attended, Mayor, makes me ask, with all that's going on, how are you handling accountability from the divisions, departments, and individuals and grantees that the city issues? How is that being handled when it comes to accountability and proven measurable impact? Infrastructure has now become a concern again, and one that you always heard me talk about. SSYI. And then I know you can't talk too much because there's litigation, but some things have came out about SOAR the last couple of days in that case. And so you more than most, and I said in the beginning, but I need to let folks know that just want to try stuff. I'm not adding our mayor. She knows that this is a passion place of mine, but more than that, this is a space of concern for community. And so, Mayor, how are we handling accountability to ensure that all that are involved with this are doing what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, no, this is kind of what I've been feeling of. There's still, it can feel so disorienting sometimes whenever I'm in a place with other cities and other mayors, whether it was at the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, where there were a couple different roundtables and different things just focused on mayors, or whether it's other convenings and conferences or people who are coming into town, we get this sense of shock of, how is Boston doing what you're doing? Like, how is it possible that your numbers are so low? And they kind of have Boston up on the board as like the leader and this and that, and all of that by the numbers is true. But then I'm on peace walks in the community after an incident has taken place. I'm talking to some of the family members who have been impacted, or on an anniversary of a passing or a memorial event, and it doesn't feel, it feels so jarring, right? Every single incident that has happened in Boston and that does happen in Boston, the trauma builds and you feel it so deeply. I think in terms of infrastructure, I do want to just shout out Dr. Yablo, because not only has he been really focused on data and how do we do things and put systems in place that are bigger than any individual person or anyone's sort of everything living in their head and them needing to be the one be there. He's built out an office, he has staff, they're tracking things that we have to track.
Did I hear correctly and say he's built out an office?
Yeah, we have. So the goal is that his team will be 4 people. I think we're at 2 staff now under him. And so we're getting there. But that just gives the capacity to be able to, again, not just react to any individual thing that happens and make sure there's visibility and presence, but really be intentional about following through with families who've been impacted from years before, or putting in place the ongoing structures to prevent and keep everyone together. I will say very confidently that I hear from the folks who are doing this work on the ground. The city has never been as coordinated and as cohesive as now, in terms of having a space where everyone knows there will always be an incident review meeting to make sure we're immediately deploying what's needed across not just city departments, but all of those who are in this space together. And then also the regular ending violence strategy meetings, because sometimes when you're in that immediate, what do we need to do now? Of course, you're not thinking about, okay, how do we get 5, 10, 20 steps ahead and make sure that we're actually building the right infrastructure. So having those spaces for collective accountability is really important. We are going to continue to try to look at the numbers and apply that across every little detail that it can be applied by. And certainly in recent days, even though it might not be reflected in our national homicide statistics, there are still people who are experiencing violence, often in the same parts of the city. And even as the number of shootings has gone down and gun violence is at its lowest, it feels still so heavy in our communities, and we still have to do a lot better.
Mayor, I think you can appreciate the fact that I feel it from the community standpoint, and then I feel it from a lens and perspective of our time. We serve together some maturity in understanding policies and systems more post then. I will share with you very respectfully that there is some concern of those that may not be minimal internal, but some external folks that may not share the same feeling that things are as coordinated as, and in comparison to some things, let's be fair. I just thought about that in real time, as coordinated as they've been, but that does not mean that they're at their best. And I think it's good to definitely frame it like that. That accountability piece, Mayor, I just think is important for infrastructure. I am glad and elated to hear that Dr. Yarbrough's office is now going back to an office versus, senior policy. It was still advising, but there will be an office of, and I think he calls it now community safety. We've taken the violence prevention out and it's called community safety. And so that is definitely good to hear. Michael gave me my time. And so I one of the last things I want to ask about in a how do we get to solutions manner is Mass and Cass is interesting. We knew that there was going to be, and you've mentioned this, up and down seasons. That's also applicable, unfortunately, to violence. But it didn't, in my observation, it has seemed stable. And though Atkinson is not as dense, there are new pockets that are becoming dense. Where are we with Mass and Cass? Any updates on the bridge? Where are we with addressing the evolution of where Mass and Cass is now?
Yeah, we're still in the permitting process for the bridge, okay, which is frustrating. But that, even once the permits come through, any construction project of that size is going to be a little bit off. So we know that we have a lot to do in the meantime and can't sit around waiting. And every week they're similar to what we were just talking about in terms of coordination and making sure everyone's on the same page inside City Hall and outside City Hall. There are tweaks and adjustments that we're trying to make. And so the big challenge this warmer season, kind of spring, summer into now, has been not tents and encampments, but gatherings of, large congregations where there's still a good deal of drug traffickers being able to prey on people who are vulnerable and in need of services, and also just again, because we survey everyone and know person by person generally who people are and what the needs are. It's a lot of people who have housing and are looking for somewhere to be during the day. So that is the primary, I think, issue that we're now trying to address, is making sure that their safety and safety for people who are gathered, safety for people in our neighborhoods, and we just can't have those large gatherings where that kind of activity is taking place. And so there has been some new fencing that has gone up. It's in conjunction with a ramping up of public health, public safety, and outreach and housing services. And we continue to work with the state. There's been some back and forth about who's going to fund what. And you kind of see this in a lot of government programs because resources are so tight that when things get better, then all of a sudden the decision is made that that funding can go somewhere else. And we have a big need over here and it's no longer an emergency. But that means the city's been now having to find resources to plug the gaps where we had a little bit more support before. And so we're using now more resources just to kind of tread water and stay at the same level of housing, low threshold housing availability and all that. And so we've had some good conversations with the state about what we can do about that to keep that collaboration going. And again, also engage other cities in it.
Got you. I those are two things that, again, there was a period where I didn't see as much on social media. I wasn't getting those type of inboxes and DMs, but they in our last couple of times together, they have come up. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is an opportunity to talk about, you talk about housing, and there was some $7 million something, but now there's $7 million of the ARPA money that's being dedicated to housing and to the expansion of, because when I seen that, I had reached out to the administration. I said, is there another round of space grants? And they were like, no, Jimmy, this is just expansion. And so it's expansion of current. It
includes space grants, though.
It includes space grants, but not new ones, if I'm correct, right?
No, it will be some new space grants that will come from. So it's the remaining $7 million from ARPA. We had held some aside just in case we wanted to see how programs were going and this and that. But they still have a deadline on them. So with the ARPA dollars, because they were for pandemic recovery, you have to basically have them contracted by the end of 2024 and then spent by the end of 2026. So we really wanted to put them to the programs that we know work, can get the dollars out quickly into the community and have a huge impact. So there's 3 programs that are filed for the council to review and take a vote on ARPA. It's $3 million for the home for forget the exact, basically the program that takes residents of BHA or with a voucher and helps them become homeowners with down payment assistance.
The program that Alex did and got the woman 15 years. Is that the program the woman got 15 years of zero mortgage? Is it that program?
It's a really great deal, and it's down payment assistance, it's support, and we've now, I'll just share, this is too much detail, and we probably don't have time, but just so you have a sense of how much a difference it's made. In the entire 12 years before we took on this kind of revamping the program, there were 2 families that actually went from BHA to homeowners. And then once we started this program with ARPA dollars, with better staffing, with more outreach, we've had 25, is that right? We've had 25, wait, did I get this wrong?
Mayor,
sorry, it was 2 families, 25 over 12 years. And then in the last 2 years, we've done 50. That was the statistic, because it's basically 2 a year for the last 12 years when the program was running on its own without help. And now we've been able to do 25 families a year for 50 families total. So it's just crazy how much it makes a difference. This will allow us to double that again with the dollars that are there. Another $3 million will go to the acquisition opportunity program, which is about affordable housing and keeping people in their homes, helping take those housing units off the speculative market. And $1 million goes to small business with space grants and other initiatives.
Okay. Thank you. I got to squeeze things in 1 minute because Michael said we got 2 minutes left. I'll end with that one. I just want to acknowledge a couple of people, just a couple of things real quick. Jonathan is mentioning that it's not just Mass and Cass. The negative impact of decentralization is folks go somewhere. And there is, I call a Ziegler and Harrison, the Black Mass and Cass in Nubian Square. There's a lot that's going on there with homelessness. Toy is checking in, and we want to acknowledge Suicide Awareness Month as well with you, and you can speak to that. And then another thing I just saw, and Dina mentions that the decentralization puts folks into other neighborhoods. Mayor, I know that you are a musician, and I understand that you have something coming up. Look at your face. I know she's like, did they tell him that?
Yeah, I'm excited. But for me, yeah, I mean, for me, I played piano since I can remember, since I was a little girl. So it really feel like I feel most myself in some ways when I'm involved with music. But it's been a very like private, personal thing that I do by myself. And I've been agreed to do more public performances because I think it's important to show that you could have a job that's not, only about music and it still makes you who you are. And so I really try to do that, even though it makes me very scared and nervous. So this Saturday, I am playing with the BSO. I'm doing Rhapsody in Blue, which is one of my favorite ever. It's the song that made me fall in love with piano. And please give me grace. I'm not a professional musician, but I'm going to play my heart out. And it's part of their free concert for the city that they do. We'll have a bunch of community groups on the program too. Veronica Robles, the Boston Children's Chorus. So it'll be at Symphony Hall Saturday afternoon.
All right. I wanted to mention that. And also talking about free at the concert, did I see something that the museum visits with BPS has expanded?
Yeah, the program was
originally coming just 30 seconds and I'll have
it was supposed to end in August. We are continuing it so that there be no gap for our BPS families. And then we're still finalizing the details, but hopefully we'll be able to announce all the locked down details very soon that this will be available to all Boston kids, no matter what school you go to.
Because that was
one of the start in the hopefully January of the next year.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. Somebody said Naraki said come play at Berkeley. All right, I got to let the mayor go. Mayor, thank you. I appreciate you. Definitely want to follow up and check in and still be any assistance that I can as an individual, and then my role as a commissioner and help with that as well. So, Mayor, thank you. Take care of yourself. Drink extra water. You look wonderful. You're radiating, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Bye.
Folks, I hope that was helpful to you, even with along some of the context that I gave before the mayor came on. It's interesting navigating and handling, the accountability that I have to community and also my understanding of how government works and systems and structures. And so, yeah, thank you all for tuning in today. We are a little bit delayed, so I do have to get ready to rush off. As I was saying, as the mayor's getting ready to come in, please don't forget to register. I need you guys to register because let me go ahead and do what I was doing before the mayor was coming in. I need to show y'all the drink menu for Thursday in collaboration with the Mix. Shout out to the Mix, Brother Rufus, Brother Levi, and our top chef, Brother Jarvis. All right, this isn't going to work for me, or it may work for me. Let's see if it does. Video file, extra camera, slides. You have no slides. Let's see what this does. This is a new function in here. Upload a file. There it goes. Oh, it's not the right format. The devil. All right. So I can do this. I'm going to show you all the drinks for Thursday. All right, there we go. We're just going to share screen. So also while I'm doing that, I want to shout out my good friends and collaborators in the persons of the Real Boston Media and also Mo Filla, who is going to be part of the event. And both of them will be there with us. Real Boston Media is kind of on the low, so you're only going to know who it is in the room. But these are the drinks. So we're going to have the Cuffin Season, which is basically a French 75. The Black Java, which is an espresso martini. You can get the light skin Java, still black, but you can get it creamy. And that is an espresso martini. You can get the One Night Stand, which is a Hennessy sidecar, and also Safer Sex on the Beach, self-explanatory Sex on the Beach. And so what you need to do is make sure you go and register. I'm going to put the link in right now. Hold on. Let's get this together. Okay, there we go. I am going to put the link in the comments right now so you can go and register. There is limited capacity, y'all. We're deciding today if we're going to allow a few walk up, registrations, but I would encourage you to register today. All right, here we go. I need to copy and paste And this is where you can go and register everyone. Don't make me cuss. Open cuffing. All right, here we go. We're not going to turn this into After Dark like Daniel did on my birthday. Lisa, thank you. Sister Debbie, thank you. Juanita, good to see you in the room, or AKA Peaches. Sebastian, good to see you in the room, brother. That was the one that I missed. But I got Toy covered, Dina's point, and there were, I think it was Jonathan that named the other areas impacted by the same issues at Mass and Cast. So Miss Teresa, as long as you're here, I'm glad that you were able to make it late. And all right, folks, that's it for me. I got some stuff to do to get out of here shortly. Don't forget, Darren Howell will be with us. On Friday at 12 o'clock. We're having a special Freestyle Friday. Darren's actually going to be in studio with me. So, that's a whole different energy and conversation. And so plan to tune in Friday at 12 o'clock. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, I'm scheduled to be by myself. I'm just thinking that I might skip tomorrow. I will let you guys know, but especially with the fact that we are coming on Friday with Darren at 12, we'll put a post up. All right. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., not 9 a.m., 10 a.m. I'm doing better, guys. Please, folks, let me know if you have some thoughts. Newt said cuff away. Let me know if you have some thoughts about the 10 a.m. hour. Is it working better for you? Are you able to tell other people, hey, listen to Java with Jimmy? Put it on in your office, low key or whatever. They keep the news on in the radio in the office. Shoot, put this on for a little while. All right, I'm getting off of here. Have a great day, everybody. I appreciate you being in. Again, shout out to all the people on Twitter. I need y'all to hit that live chat and start conversing with us so we know that you're here, because I'm sure you have some. I know Twitter folks got some opinions. So participate in the conversation with us. All right. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.